Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week we watched the rest of the Muppets appearances in 1975, with the one notable exception being the Land of Gorch segments from Saturday Night Live, which we will talk all about next week.
Oh boy, I'm excited for those.
Oh yeah, they are very weird and different from everything else we've watched pretty much.
And there's the background of them is that there's seething resentment all around, which I love.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of backstory in next week's episode. But this week we watched a couple of Julie Andrews specials and then a bunch of short other clips from TV appearances that we could unfortunately not find the full things of. So it's a bit of a scattered week, a bit of a weird week. The Muppets are still in that, like, we're not doing the Muppet Show yet, but we're doing all this other stuff kind of time. So yeah, we'll get to that in a second here. But also want to note that our Muppet of the Week this week will be Animal. Before we get into talking about what we're supposed to be talking about this week, I wanted to mention that recently I was on an episode of the Maximum Fun Wrestling podcast, Titan Fights, as a guest to discuss Muppet things and wrestling, obviously. But I was on there to discuss the current week in wrestling that was happening that week, and mostly to then focus on an episode of Monday Night Raw that happened in 2011, where the Muppets were like the hosts of Monday Night Raw, and they popped up throughout the whole episode, and it's a very weird, bizarre, fun episode of wrestling that eventually we'll talk about on this podcast, but we're so far out from that that we'll all forget that we talked about this by the time we get there.
That's fine. I didn't want to be on Tights and Fights anyway. I didn't want to watch the 2011 Monday Night Raw. That's okay.
You'll get to eventually.
Yeah, I suppose. But you'll have already seen it.
Do you have wrestling knowledge?
Maybe a little bit from like seeing toys or something of wrestlers. I know Macho Man Randy Savage from...
well, he's dead.
Well, I don't know him personally. I know him from Dexter's Laboratory, that episode of Dexter's Lab that he's in.
I meant more so that he's no longer wrestling.
Well, okay. So then no. I know about the Ghoul or the whatever he's called. The Ghoul?
The Fiend?
Yeah, I know about that guy. But he kind of...
Now I'm wishing you had been on Titan Fights with me to be like, yes, I love the Ghoul.
Yes, he's my favorite. The Ghoul. There's also like the Monster or something like that. The Demon? Is that one of them?
The Demon is a person, yes.
Does the Ghoul and the Demon fight?
So the Fiend and the Demon were supposed to fight at one time, and then something happened and they didn't.
They became friends.
I don't remember. No, I think everyone decided it was a bad idea.
Finn Balor, is that his name?
Close enough.
What's his name?
Finn Balor.
Well, come on.
But we're not here to talk about any of those, aside from, if you want to go check out that episode of Titan Fights, go check it out.
Go do that for sure.
Oh, and also, if you're listening here now because you heard me on Tights and Fights, thank you for coming over and checking out Commitment. But this week we're going to talk about a lot of stuff. So Sam, why don't you give us that list of things we watched this week?
Well, Matthew, the first thing we watched was Julie, My Favorite Things, another of Julie Andrews' ABC TV specials that she kind of got as a consolation prize for her show getting canceled, is my understanding of it. This one is all about her, I guess, and her favorite things. And one of her favorite things must be the Muppets, because they're all over the first half of this special. A lot of other weird stuff happens in this one, but I'll just keep it to the Muppet stuff for this summary, and we can cover the rest of it as we see fit. So the Muppet segment of this special begins with Julie on a black background dancing with some full-body bird-like Muppets called gawks. I think they're officially called gawky birds, but in this they're just called gawks. And then after that, on the same black background, there's some more full-body Muppets who are little Grover-looking fellows called Clods, which I think are also officially called Clodhoppers, but in this they're called Clods.
Well, I think in this they're actually called Clunks, is what she's calling
Clunks.
them.
You're right.
Yeah.
They're called Clunks. Well, they're officially called Clodhoppers, and they were apparently made for the Broadway show that never ended up happening, is what Muppet Wiki says. So that's kind of cool. The Clods or the Clunks love to dance, so they all show Julie their little dances while she sings them a song, and it's very cute. Then the Electric Mayhem pop in to sing Susie Quattro's Your Mother Won't Like Me, until Julie comes in with a tambourine, kind of dressed like a hippie, and ruins the set with her like mom-like vibe. And the Electric Mayhem basically tell her to fuck off. I mean, they go up to the line of telling her to fuck off, which she does.
Yeah, they like full on bully her into leaving, where they're just like, you're clearly not cool enough to hang out with us, so you need to leave.
And it seems like there's going to be a turn where they're like, all right, we'll teach you how to be cool. But instead, she just leaves.
To be fair, she was doing a really bad job of playing the tambourine. She was completely off rhythm.
Yeah, she was. And they were right to call her out for it.
Yeah.
Then she goes and finds Kermit, and she's moping about how lame she is. But then Kermit's like, oh, I still love you. And she's like, I love you too. And then she sings him a little song about how much she's loved him and has always loved him. And they say that they love each other a lot in a very like non-platonic feeling way, almost like they're married or something like that. Very strange little thing. Then after that, she meets Peter Sellers, who's like a Nazi. And he's making like Hitler knock-knock jokes. And full disclosure, I could not finish the special. I'm very sorry. I tried my best.
Don't worry, Sam. I also did not watch the Peter Sellers sections of this for similar reasons.
You said Zoot popped up in that at some point, though. I couldn't find it.
Oh, yes. At the very, very end of this, before Julie Andrews sings like her closing number, I don't remember the exact context of why, but she's kind of trying to decide of like, what kind of closing number should I sing? And then Zoot just pops up and's like, you should sing Melancholy Baby. And she's like, okay. And there's like no reason that Zoot is there or that he's the one who does this. And I think it's somebody else performing Zoot's voice in this moment, not like the traditional performer. And it's a very weird little moment that I'm guessing they were just like, we should have one last Muppet thing. But it feels very tacked on and weird.
Okay, I'm watching it live. Here we go. Because I have to watch it because I won't have watched all Muppet things if I don't. Here it comes. Okay. I watched it. There we go. He's like got different clothes on than he does earlier in the thing too. He's dressed like in a trench coat for some reason.
So Muppet Wiki doesn't say who plays Zoot in this segment, but I can tell that it's not Dave Goelz. Or at least it's not like Dave Goelz' traditional Zoot voice that he will have later for the character.
Yes, he's speaking coherently.
Well, he speaks coherently later, but just always high.
Yeah, he's much more tired later on.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that was all the Muppet stuff for that one. Then we watched an 18-second clip of a performance of Accustomed done in 1975 on maybe The Today Show?
Tonight Show.
The Tonight Show. How did you find that clip even?
That's just a lucky Google search of somebody sharing that. It's for some reason, we can't find the actual Tonight Show appearance from 1975, but the performance of Accustomed to Your Face was like included in a different like Jim Henson documentary for like PBS or something.
Okay.
And so it's only this like short little clip where they're referencing it that we got to watch. And it's so short and kind of a useless clip to watch, but it's important because this is, at least people online said, this is the last performance of Grown Accustomed to Your Face until 2011 when Brian Henson performs it.
Oh, okay.
If you go watch it, you're not really going to get anything out of it because it's so brief.
Yeah.
But it's notable because it does have like the modern Kermit puppet with like his collar and flipper feet. And then the fact that this was supposedly the last time that like Jim Henson ever performed this sketch.
Yeah. And I'd assume like the 15-year-old Yorick puppet that they pulled out of some drawer somewhere.
And that's what, like, it's hard to also believe everything everyone says online in, like, YouTube comments and descriptions because some people in the description or the comments of this video were saying, like, and this was the last appearance of Yorick. And then somebody else was like, well, no, he appears in the 30-year celebration special in the 80s. And they're like, oh. And so who knows what's true. But as far as I know, this is the last time we will see this sketch.
You know who is going to know? Us, after we watch the whole damn everything.
we'll know everything.
Because I know Yorick also pops up in the new Muppet Babies. So
He does, yeah. Not as a puppet, but as just a painting in the background.
Gag, yeah. So anyway, next we watched a segment of a pitch reel for The Muppet Show, or a version of The Muppet Show, made for CBS, in which a little businessman Muppet named Leo, who I think has popped up in like videos made for like private corporations, trainings and stuff like that, makes an increasingly desperate plea to CBS to give them a show so that they can all make a lot of money. He keeps bringing up George Schlatter, who was a producer on Laugh-In, and I assume Schlatter was interested in being a producer on The Muppet Show at the time, but I don't think that ended up happening on the final version of The Muppet Show.
Apparently this was described as getting a quick no from CBS. This pitch reel did not work. And I believe it's mentioned in Brian J. Jones's book that when Lord Lou Grade was trying to get like this distributed and make a Muppet Show in England, the company that was going to produce it was like, okay, but we need to see a pitch reel. And he's like, we're not going to make you another pitch reel. Just watch this one we made for CBS. That's good enough. And they were like, okay.
What? That's weird because it so specifically mentions like in particular people on the CBS like board of directors or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love its ballsiness. It's just like, hey, you old white men, give us money to make a TV show.
So then after Leo finishes his spiel, Kermit comes out and says, what the hell was that? And then it ends. I'm sure Kermit must swear other times, but this is the first time I can remember hearing Kermit swear.
I don't know of any specific instances that I can think of, but I'm sure there's like more like double entendre type jokes. Like we had the jackass joke in the Muppet Musicians of Bremen that I don't know if Kermit said it, or I don't remember who exactly said
Kermit said
that.
Yeah.
But I think we get that kind of joke from Kermit occasionally, but like him just saying like, what the hell was that is much more rare.
So then we watched a bunch of clips that collectively, I think, make up a fair amount of an episode of The Cher Show that featured the Muppets and Ray Charles as guests. Cher had her own show at this time because she had just gotten divorced from Sonny like that same year, and they split off into two different shows. Then they came back together for, professionally speaking, for a combined show where they were rude to each other about being divorced. Anyway,
Weird.
Yeah. So Kermit and Ray Charles sing a very nice duet of Being Green, which made me feel very emotional. Kermit talks to a very young Chaz Bono in what I think is supposed to be like a charming Sesame Street kid interview, but Chaz completely no-sells Kermit at every turn the entire time. So it sort of flops. Kermit's trying his best. Then at the end, Sweetums, Kermit, and Jim come out to wave goodbye, and Sweetums is there apparently because he and Cher performed Old Black Magic in this episode, but that segment was cut for rerun, so it seems to be lost forever. And there's also a cut segment that the Muppet Wiki describes as Kermit and Cher hit on each other, which I would have loved to have seen, but is also not in this episode.
Yeah, it was a little, in researching the Cher episodes, it seemed a little bit confusing of what was supposed to air and what wasn't supposed to air as originally part of the show, because it seemed like Jim and the Muppets were planning on appearing on the Cher show, and they actually filmed 2 episodes at the same time, basically back to back.
Was one of them Bill Cosby one that also is mentioned?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute, but they mentioned that some of these things were filmed specifically for the pitch reel, that like Chaz and Kermit filmed their stuff as like an addition thing to like plop into the pitch reel. So I don't know if that actually appeared in the episode that aired back in 1975, or if that was just shot for the pitch reel and then maybe added in for reruns. It was kind of unclear because it wasn't in the official show rundown of things that happened in the show. But it's clearly in the version we watched of the show.
Which is like a VH1 rerun or something.
Yeah, and this was the thing that, from what I remember, I think Brian maybe even mentioned this last week, that they were just kind of trying to see how Jim's improv skills were with guests. And so people were like feeding him funny lines to say to Cher and to Chaz and stuff. And so I think that's why we get like a little bit of a weird disconnect between Chaz and Kermit, because it's like they didn't like go into it with a goal of like, in the Sesame Street segments, it's like, okay, we're going to teach the letter G to this kid. This was just like, I don't know, we're going to sit here, Chaz is going to tickle Kermit, and then they're going to have a kiss, and he doesn't turn into a prince. The end.
Maybe Chaz just hates Kermit.
I mean, maybe. He's just like, it's a puppet. I can see that dude. We can all see that dude. Like, they didn't even hide. Like when we're watching this clip, you can see Jim Henson like
his head
hidden behind a box.
Yeah. So, not the most high effort little Muppet skit we got there. So then after that, we watched another Julie Andrews special called 1-to-1. And I did watch all of this one because it was fucking bizarre, where Julie, the Muppets, the Korean Children's Choir, and Stan Mooneyham of the evangelical humanitarian organization World Vision International sing about adopting orphans from, quote, developing countries for an hour. Julie Andrews had adopted 2 Vietnamese children around this time, I believe, but I actually couldn't find a lot of info about that. It's like not even on her Wikipedia page that happened. But it pops up in articles about her, but just not... It's not like a very prominent thing. So anyway, the Muppets take up most of the middle of this special. They kind of pop up in the background before this, but the first real skit that they're in is Kermit directing the children's choir and some anything Muppets and kind of like an unfunny little thing that I didn't really understand the point of. Then Brewster, who previously was like a wise man in a couple different things and a horny old man in the Valentine's special, is now a wise farmer, and he sings a really long, complicated musical number about the chain of life, and in the middle they drop in how man must be stopped before he disrupts the chain of life. And it's extremely strange, and he sounds exactly like Gonzo, which is fun. And also...
Yeah, there's a few moments in that where I'm like, yes, this is clearly Dave Goelz.
Yeah. And then the Muppet Musicians of Bremen also pop up for some lines, except for the donkey one, Leroy. I think
Leroy is not here.
No, which is kind of sad because all of his friends are there. But anyway, there's a little play after that. There's a little play narrated by Kermit about a brave little peasant in a kingdom that never has any sunlight, and he adopts a baby that was left outside the town gates and magically becomes king, and the sun shines in the kingdom for the very first time because he's so selfless and pure that he adopted a baby. And that's the end of the Muppet stuff, basically. Then we learn more about adoption, and Julie Andrews comes out and sings. It's just weird. We'll talk about that later, too. And finally, we watched people dressed like Sesame Street Muppets playing hockey against the Chicago Blackhawks for some reason. Matt, what the hell was going on there? Was this an official thing that happened?
I mean, no. Like, it wasn't an actual hockey game, if that's what you're asking.
No, was it like, was this like bootleg Muppets, or were these real?
No, these were the full-body costumed Sesame Street Muppets from the Ice Follies show that was touring at this time, and I think toured for a large part of the 70s, from like 74 to at least 79. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they were apparently, I think, touring through Chicago at this time and would have clearly been probably using the same ice rink that the Chicago Blackhawks would use at the Chicago Stadium. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it seems that between shows, between hockey games, they decided to put on a little mock hockey game between a couple of Sesame Street characters and a couple of actual Chicago Blackhawks players. And we get Big Bird, who just looks like a normal Big Bird because obviously he's already a full body costume. I'm guessing there's not a hand up in the head because that'd be harder.
That'd be dangerous.
Yeah, but then we have Grover, Bert, Ernie, and Cookie Monster, who plays the goalie and eventually eats the puck at one point. And we have the announcer of this match referring to Grover every time as Oscar. So clearly not a big fan of Sesame Street, whoever's announcing this.
He hates whatever this bullshit is going on.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, Oscar's taking the face off here. And it's like, no, he's not. My favorite thing is that the summary of that, which I think I pulled from Muppet Wiki, says that at present it remains uncertain as to which side won.
They're still playing to this very day.
They tore down the Chicago Stadium, and yet the ghosts of the Muppets and the Blackhawks keep playing this game.
I have some quick 1975 history because I haven't done that in a while. And 1975 was kind of crazy. So in 1975, Gerald Ford is president, having stepped in after Nixon and Spiro Agnew resigned in 1973. The Vietnam War ends this year with the capture of Saigon by the People's Army of Vietnam. There's an extremely famous photo of evacuees climbing some stairs to a helicopter that you've probably seen before. On TV, Wheel of Fortune premieres. SNL debuts in October of this year on NBC. And in Japan, the very first Super Sentai series, which people in America probably would know better as Power Rangers, premieres. In movies, The Godfather 2 cleans up at the Academy Awards. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is released this year, and Jaws is released, which kicks off like the era of blockbuster filmmaking that we are still in today. In music, Bruce Springsteen releases Born to Run, the Born to Run album. Bohemian Rhapsody is like starting to climb the charts, I think at the end of 75 maybe. And we got like some really great yacht rock starting to happen with the Eagles, America, Captain and Tennille, the Doobie Brothers, the Carpenters. Like, they're not yacht rock, but like easy listening seems to be gripping the nation at this point. Not to say that disco is dead yet either, because we still got like the Bee Gees doing their thing. Yeah, and that was pretty much it. That's all that happened in 1975.
Yeah, there's a lot happening that I feel like doesn't tie directly to Muppets there, but a lot of it does have big effects on what is going to like shape the entertainment industry in the next few years.
Yeah, we're getting to stuff that still is like has repercussions today. Just like our culture is much more recognizable as the culture of 1975 than anything before this, pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of the sort of like late 60s, early 70s stuff that we've been watching feels a bit more like unstuck in time in this weird, fluffy, like Our Place and the one-to-one specials sort of feel like these weird, like, I don't know what you are trying to accomplish or what like culture you think you're representing with this, and I don't understand who this is for really. But I think we see more of the I think with the Muppet Show pitch reel and some of these Cher appearances, we're starting to see what the actual like culture is doing at this time.
The Cher Show and the new Sonny and Cher were kind of victims of the end of variety shows being popular, but also Cher is just so similar to like big pop stars that we have now that it feels sort of timeless, because she's basically like Lady Gaga. It's like if Lady Gaga had a TV show, I'm sure it would be very similar to the Cher Show.
Well, and Cher is just like funny, like
Fucking
she is
cool,
just
like really cool and funny. Yeah.
Yes, like she has always been very cool and funny, and so the fact that we don't get to watch more of her interacting with the Muppets is a shame.
Yeah,
because a lot of this stuff sounds really good. I think she appears on Sesame Street at one point, but yeah, she seems like a perfect fit for them.
Genuinely surprised that she was on the Muppet Show. I would have guessed that she would have been a guest on that.
I think a lot of the people with the Muppet Show, at least, weren't wanting to travel across the ocean to go film in London necessarily, or weren't able to because they had their own commitments to other things.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, especially early on in the Muppet Show, you get a lot of people who were famous in England, but maybe not as famous in the U.S. But before we dive too deep into some of these things that we did watch, I want to talk about some of the things that we weren't able to watch or just don't seem to exist anywhere. So in April 1975, Big Bird appeared in a live appearance as part of a Feeling Good Health Festival, which I couldn't find much information about, but it's notable that he's out there doing his Big Bird thing. And then in September 1975 is when the first episode of the Cher Show aired with the Muppets. This one I could not find anything of, but Cher apparently sings Satisfaction, backed by Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, and then sings the Beatles song Something with Sweetums. Rufus shows up during a musical segment, and then also Sweetums visits a doctor played by Bill Cosby.
Okay.
So I'm glad that it has worked out weirdly well that the two times the Muppets have interacted with Bill Cosby, those clips have been lost to time.
Yeah. Makes our jobs less complicated, for sure. What was the other time? Was he on?
He was on The Tonight Show once when they were also on, I think, and interacted with Kermit or something. But thankfully, the internet has removed any evidence of that.
Yes.
And then in November 1975, we have a bit of a throwback here. This is when they shot those Mirinda commercials that we talked about way back in episode 5 when we talked about all the commercials. And we were covering largely like the 50s and 60s. But the end of that compilation of commercials we watched were some commercials, including the Mirinda Craver, which was this big, like, Muppety looking guy that like would just like basically like a Trix Rabbit kind of character who was always trying to get people to give him Mirinda soda. But they shot these commercials in 1975. So this is some of the latest sort of Muppet commercials that Jim Henson was doing. And he apparently agreed to produce these commercials because the viewing market for Mirinda was not in the US. Like it was all like other countries. And so he apparently was okay with that. He didn't want to use his Muppets, especially like Sesame Street Muppets, to do commercials in the US. But if it was going to be outside of the US, he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then the last thing I could not find for us to watch this week was from November 1975. They were on the show Dinah, which is hosted by Dinah Shore. We will see some Dinah Shore clips in the future. I think there is some clips from like a 1977 or 1978 appearance online somewhere, but could not find this one. But apparently in this episode, Jim Henson, Kermit the Frog, and some other Muppets appear. Kermit sings, "What Kind of Frog Am I?" And again, could not find anything. This is kind of such a weird mishmash of a week of so many random clips of TV shows that we could find. And apparently there was even more of it out there that we just... again, lost to time. I think the Cher stuff might be available on that Best of Cher DVD set that exists, but it does cost like $100, and I'm not going to order that.
And nobody's ever ripped it to the internet?
Not that I could find. Aside from the 3 clips we did watch of the Cher show, couldn't find anything else with Cher and Muppets, which is a shame because, not only is Cher good with the Muppets, but that Ray Charles being green singing with Kermit, I could watch that like 100 times.
Yeah, it was great.
And one last note for 1975, which, again, it's going to happen every year. A new season of Sesame Street premiered. But December 1st, 1975, Season 7 of Sesame Street premieres, and the curriculum for Season 7 focused on children with learning disabilities. And again, for those wondering why we don't talk about Sesame Street a ton on this podcast, it's because we are going to sort of do a decade-by-decade retrospective looking back thing on Sesame Street, because we cannot watch every single episode because we have jobs and lives that we have to continue to live.
Not until we're finished with all the Muppet stuff and we're desperate for more content. Then we can spend the rest of our lives watching Sesame Street.
We'll just be 50-year-old men going back and watching all the episodes of Sesame Street.
We'll be like Statler and Waldorf.
Oh, no.
You know what's a sick thought I just had? Someday I'll be as old as Statler and Waldorf, and they'll be like, they're not the old men anymore. They're just men.
Yeah, you start to relate more to Statler and Waldorf than you do like Kermit or Scooter.
We're getting close. I mean, I feel like I'm close. Because I'm 33. How old do you think they are? 80? You think they're like 80?
But you're saying we're close to 80?
Yeah. Closer than not.
That's just not true.
Okay.
Mathematically, that's not accurate.
Anyway.
But yeah, let's dive into Julie, my favorite things.
Oh my gosh.
I think one of the early notable things about this is that some of the crew who worked on this, because it was filmed in London, went on to work on The Muppet Show.
Okay.
But this thing starts off with a creepy-ass clown mime.
Just right away, right in your face, is a clown.
The special starts off incredibly weird.
Yeah.
Doesn't really get less weird.
No.
But it takes a while to sort of settle down, because that opening number of My Favorite Things is a really strange montage of video clips and stills and giant props.
Stuff I assume is her favorite stuff. It's so weirdly specific, some of it.
I guess so. Well, yeah, because my favorite thing was, at one point, she is standing next to a giant jar of peanut butter.
Just huge, bigger than her.
Yeah, they built this giant prop jar of peanut butter that she walks out from behind. And it's like, oh my God, that's a very impressive prop. And it's there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then never seen again.
This lady loves fucking peanut butter.
But we get this montage, which includes images of Mickey Mouse, Sesame Street Muppets. Perry Como's face pops up for a second. And then so does Winston Churchill, Charlie Chaplin, JFK, Humphrey Bogart, Snoopy, and then clips of both kinds of football, American and the soccer kind.
I wrote down literally all the same things you just said, because those are the things that stuck out to me. Does she like American football? That's cool if she does. But I was surprised to see that.
I don't know enough about Julie Andrews to know her love of American football, but I do know that she would definitely call it American football every time. I feel like that is just a fact that I can state. But yeah, what did you think of the Gawky Birds?
So the Muppet stuff in this, I really liked. This was the first time in a while that I've been like, oh, they're really like pulling out all the stops. They got some new Muppets that I think they built for various other shows, but still they're new to television.
Yeah, I believe this is the premiere of both the Gawky Birds and the Clodhoppers, and the Gawky Birds were built for like a Lincoln Center stage show that they wanted to do and never got to do, and then the Clodhoppers were built for the Broadway show that Jim was trying to get off the ground forever.
Yeah.
And did not get to do ever.
Yeah. So it's like these ideas that I guess he'd been thinking about for probably like years. So everything feels like really nicely fleshed out. The skits all seem to have a purpose, unlike the Sex and Violence just was so directionless that to see kind of like a very kind of old school, like straightforward Muppet skit was great. And the Gorks were like really charming and cute. And their little dances were all really cute. And Julie, like, I'm fucking sick of Julie Andrews, but I did really like her in these two parts in particular with the full body Muppets.
I hate to say it, Sam, but I think we do have one more Julie Andrews special coming up.
Oh my God, we have another whole special?
I think in 1978, I think she does another one.
Why did
that
she keep
includes some
bringing the
Muppet
Muppets
stuff.
on for these?
She loves them. They're part of her favorite things.
Really likes them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked like the Clunks were like very supportive of each other. They had like these gruff voices, but they loved to dance so much, and they just had like a really nice energy that I appreciated. But I don't think we probably ever see them again, is my guess.
Oh yeah, we do.
We do?
I know both the Gawky Birds and Clodhoppers will show up on the Muppet Show
Oh.
from time to time. And I think the Clodhoppers show up in something else as well. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this is one of those instances where I think similar to like the Featherstone and Gosh Posh puppets, where they're like, we made some good puppets, we're going to use the hell out of them.
They are good puppets.
Yeah, and I think the Clodhoppers are interesting because it's clear that like they're using their feet.
Mm-hmm.
Like the feet of the Clodhoppers are on their shoes, and then they're like sort of controlling their head and arms with their hands, but they're hidden in like a black suit or something. And so they're just like performed differently than like any other puppet is performed.
And then the Dr. Teeth thing, the Electric Mayhem. I think the Electric Mayhem are really cool.
Yeah, this is like a much more unhinged performance than we've seen from them in the past, which is, I think, more in line with a lot of the stuff we'll see from them in the future. I didn't necessarily enjoy them being mean to Julie Andrews, but I
liked
think,
it. I think that lady should get out of there. She ruined their cool song.
But I think what you said earlier about it felt like it was maybe going to wrap up in a nicer way of like, oh, no, sorry, you can come back, you can join the band, is maybe like the way this would have gone on the Muppet Show. Is like they'd be a little bit mean, but they'd let her play in the background and like keep her like not playing too loud or something. Whereas this is like they literally bully her until she walks off and is sad. And then Kermit has to comfort her.
Even Floyd, like Dr. Teeth, I think of as kind of a mean guy anyway. But Floyd, he's the nice one.
We talked about the relationship of Dr. Teeth and Floyd Pepper of like Dr. Teeth is sort of the angry guy who is the head of this band, but Floyd is the one who has to like actually get stuff done. And I think this is one of those examples where it's like, okay, lady, you got to leave.
So I liked that whole skit. I think it's so interesting that they ran so much with this. Like they built this puppet band, and then they were just like, you know, it's really fun doing puppet shows where we were pretending to play music, and it's very fun to watch too. It's just such a strange concept, and it made me wonder who plays the actual music for the Electric Mayhem. Do you know anything about that?
So I think it's been a few different people at different times. Like obviously through the years that has changed. But I know when looking up animal stuff for our Muppet of the Week segment, I found that like they basically had a house band for the Muppet Show. At this point, it might have just been like session musicians who they were like, hey, who can we get to record this? I don't think they had like a fully staffed music department who was constantly the same people performing the band.
But then when it got to Kermit, I had this feeling that I haven't had in a long time. And I was excited to see Kermit for some reason.
Ooh.
I could just tell by kind of like his posture and like his body language that he was closer in the direction of like the little bit more humble Kermit that we will come to know and love. And that turned out to be the case. He was kind of a little sweetie, even though there was kind of like a Perry Como-y, like they're hugging and kissing a little bit too much in a kind of a weird way thing going on. But I like that part too. The song was kind of boring. I don't know why you have Muppets on, which seems to happen a lot. When you have a Muppet on, you don't duet with them. You just sing to them. I think seems like a waste of a Muppet.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And it's like that. It made a little bit more sense maybe when Julie Andrews was singing like Being Green at Kermit in the Perry Como Julie on Sesame Street thing. But I think the perfect version of a duet is what we saw on the Cher show with like Ray Charles and Kermit singing together. And I don't understand why they like are opposed to having Julie Andrews sing with Kermit.
Maybe she just doesn't. Maybe she won't do it.
Yeah, I will not be upstaged by a frog.
But yeah, I thought the Muppet portion of this special was very strong.
Yeah, agreed. I think it all works really well, and it feels like, again, we keep saying this because it keeps being true, that like this feels like the Muppet Show. It feels like we're working towards that like celebrity and Muppets interacting in a way that will work for a full series. And then we got to the Peter Sellers stuff.
Yeah.
which neither of us watched because we just couldn't. We couldn't take it.
I ended up watching it double speed because I thought that's where Zoop popped up, so I was like powering through it. And
Right.
man, they really start doing like, at first it seems like it's going to be a subtle thing that he's a Nazi, like how it was in the Perry Como Christmas special with that Nazi and lederhosen kind of guy. But eventually he just starts telling knock-knock jokes about Hitler, talking about how Hitler was like better than Winston Churchill in various ways. I don't know. I guess maybe Peter Sellers is also one of her favorite things. I forgot to look up anything about Pink Panther, but I imagine it must have come out around now.
No, I think it was much before this, wasn't it? Or I think he was still making Pink Panther movies at this point. But I think they started like 10 years before.
Okay.
Again, Peter Sellers is one of those people that like I know from like Doctor Strangelove and stuff, where he's also essentially playing a Nazi.
Yeah.
But that was also like 10 years before this, so I don't really know if I don't know where Peter Sellers' like arc starts to fall as far as like him being a successful comedic actor. Like I know he was very respected at this point, but I don't know if he was still like a star at this point. Because, yeah, it looks like he started making Pink Panther movies in the 60s. And then right after this special came out, they made a few more Pink Panther movies. I don't know if they were good. I've never seen any Pink Panther movies. But he did make, like, The Return of the Pink Panther and The Pink Panther Strikes Again and Revenge of the Pink Panther. I don't know enough about Peter Sellers, I feel like, to judge him too harshly for this. Because maybe this was, like, what people wanted him to be doing in 1975.
Yeah.
But I also know this was like 5 years before his death or something. And so I also feel like this is maybe on the downturn of his career as far as like his star has burned out a little bit.
I don't think you're on the Julie Andrews TV special if you're the most famous comedian in the world, probably.
That's a good point.
Okay, I'm learning some stuff while you're talking.
All right.
The person who wrote and directed and produced the Pink Panther movies was Julie Andrews' husband at the time.
Yes, that man.
So he said, honey, one of your favorite things this year is the Pink Panther, is probably what happened.
Hey, I happen to know Peter Sellers. We're going to make some movies really soon with him.
Yeah.
Can he be one of your favorite things?
Yeah. Can there be like a really long segment of the Pink Panther doing ballet dancing behind you, please? That's one of your favorite things I think I've heard you say before, right? All right. Well, there you go. Julie's a sellout. She's like renting out her favorite things. There's some slots open.
Yeah, that's how Perry Como snuck in.
No, I think that's pretty organic. I think she just thinks he's a fox, maybe.
Oh, God.
You know, I'm kind of coming around to Perry Como, too. I kind of liked his style and I didn't like seeing him in the Sesame Street thing, but I liked his, like, sweater. He looked very comfortable. Kind of lifestyle I'd like to lead.
He does look like quite the grandpa. Like, he looks like the grandpa who would be, like, maybe nice and not racist and, like, give you cookies or something.
He looks like he maybe always has peppermints on him.
Yeah, like hard candies in his pockets. Hopefully wrapped.
Anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Is that okay?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay.
We then watched the short little clip from the Muppet Show pitch reel, which is sort of like vaguely dated because they made it and then sent it around throughout a couple of years, so it's not like really specific. But I know they shot the Cher parts in like August or September of 1975. So this was essentially like a 25-minute clip show to promote the Muppets with little like interstitial things with Kermit, and they would show clips from the Cher show, the Valentine show, Sex and Violence, and a bunch of other variety show appearances. And this was the thing that they sent around that we talked about with where they're calling out specifically CBS executives. And yeah, it sounds like we didn't need to watch the whole thing because we have seen most of the things that they were highlighting anyways. But as far as like Muppet humor goes, I know this is one of those clips that gets passed around a lot on like Twitter and stuff because the humor is so clearly there from Jim Henson, and it's just like off the wall crazy the way this character is just shouting at them and is basically saying that like God has foreseen that the Muppet Show should exist and it will make everyone's lives better and we will be richer. And because you get Kermit saying what the hell was that at the end, I think this is why this is so popular. Interestingly, the clip including the guy screaming and yelling about the Muppet Show should exist, is on the Muppet Show Season 1 DVD, but Kermit saying "What the hell was that?" is not on that version.
Well, you gotta keep it clean. It's a Disney release. I liked this. When you said it was a quick no, it gave me secondhand embarrassment for them because it made me think of like it's so similar to the reels that they made for what was the thing they made where they were pretending to make the commercials and then
They had there was one for LaChoy, there was one for a meat company, Wilson's Meats maybe, where they were like making the sort of here's what we can do for you.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to spend your money on parties and other commercials.
It was very similar to that, where it's like they're drinking beer on set and stuff like that. But less good to me because this is like 10 years or something, 12 years later. And he doesn't have like the benefit of being like a upstart, like youth. He doesn't have like that edgy side anymore, maybe, that he did before.
Yeah. Well, it maybe seems a little bit more desperate.
Yeah, it seems actually desperate instead of like funny desperate a little bit.
Right.
Not that I think he probably was super desperate. He is probably just going through the motions of trying to get a show made. But it does read as there's maybe a tinge of truth to the screaming that he is doing.
Yeah, I think at this point, Jim Henson's like, why won't somebody give us a freaking show?
Yeah. And I don't
We're really
blame
good.
him, because the stuff that you're saying that they showed in the clip show is like from the most scattered portion of his career so far, I would say. Like, if I saw clips of the Valentine show, I can't think of a particular clip from the Valentine show or Sex and Violence that would make me think, this has got some legs.
Well, especially when both of those shows were supposed to be pilots that did not get picked up.
Right.
So it's like you're choosing clips from things that did not work to try and show that you can make a show that works.
Mm-hmm. It did, yeah. It had more. This pitch reel had more of a point of view, I would say, than Sex and Violence or the Valentine show did. A little bit more focused, which I thought was interesting.
For sure.
What did you think of it?
I enjoy it. I think because it's only that 2-minute thing, it's very easy to watch and go like, that's nuts. That's like this fun little thing they made. But the more you talk about it, I totally see the desperation in that and sort of that secondhand embarrassment of like, oh, but this one, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And two, like the fact that this is how he's pitching the Muppet Show at this point is kind of odd.
Yeah, and it's so amorphous what the Muppet Show would even be if that's what if he's like pulling together clips from those two things that are completely different and just calling it the Muppet Show. It's like you would watch that and not have any indication of what you were going to get, I'd imagine. Better luck next time, Jim.
Yeah, maybe someday.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we watched the Muppets on the Cher show, which, again, unfortunately, we can't watch the full episode of or even both of their appearances on because, that first show, aside from the Bill Cosby of it all, sounds great, of Cher singing Satisfaction with the Electric Mayhem. And like I like that Cher seems to like Sweetums.
Yeah, I thought that's interesting that he showed up in both of those, too.
And I think this is the time that we referenced before where I believe Jim Henson performed Sweetums on these shows. I think it was partially maybe just because they couldn't send everybody out there or like Jim just wanted to or something. But I believe Jim performs Sweetums on these, which again would make it even more interesting to watch if he's the one singing Black Magic with her or whatever.
Yeah.
Not sure. Because we also then do see at the end of the Cher show, the closing credits thing, Sweetums and Jim are both there. So somebody else is in Sweetums, but again.
But we'll never know.
We'll never know.
Cher maybe knows, but it happened a long time ago, so she probably doesn't remember.
I don't think we're going to be able to get her as a guest.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
I don't think we have that kind of pull.
She spends a lot of time on Twitter, so she might not have a lot going on. The real standout of the Cher show thing is the Ray Charles duet.
Absolutely. I think that was the only thing I put in my notes about that part was so goddamn good.
Yeah.
I could watch that 100 times. It's both rough and beautiful, like the performance. Like there's parts where especially at the end that they maybe didn't rehearse the ending of the song because they're trying to both end it at slightly different speeds.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit off, but it totally feels very natural and I don't know. It's great.
No, that's interesting that you say that because I did write, I wrote some similar stuff. And I also wrote, this feels like the first time that in a long time that I've felt it makes sense that the Muppets are about to be huge. It feels like something big is about to happen. And I think the rough but beautiful is kind of like an ingredient to the Muppets that they found and lost a couple times over the course of what we've watched. Like Sam and Friends, just by being a public access, basically television show made by a 19-year-old, was rough but beautiful. And like Tinker D was kind of rough but beautiful. Then it seems like he kind of tried to slick everything up a little bit and like lost that aspect of it and tried to be so professional and so like tight. But I think the Muppet Show's whole, like, you could describe the Muppet Show as rough but beautiful, I think. Like, the fact that everything falls apart at the end of every, like, extremely, like, complicated choreographed puppet skit is, like, rough but beautiful.
Well, there's even episodes and jokes on the Muppet Show that you watch and you're like, why is this funny? Is this good? I don't even know what's happening. And then sometimes the characters will also be like, I don't know, I didn't write it. And you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
So they also know that they made like a not top tier sketch, but they still included it as part of this overall story they're telling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think like that rough but beautiful, catastrophe music that the Electric Mayhem makes feels like it's all part of the same DNA.
Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes when I have a hard time relating to Jim Henson, it's when he's doing interviews where he's like really talking about the artistry of everything. And that does not match up with like the Muppets' eventual like kind of lovable loser, like sort of constant failure thing. It just doesn't jive, but it kind of feels like maybe he is narrowing in on that. And not that Ray Charles is like responsible for teaching him that, but like this feels like that eventual Muppet feeling to me.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting too that Ray Charles would go on to record a version of Being Green and release that as like a single at some point. I've learned a lot from listening to Muppetturgy, another Muppet podcast. They take deep dives through Muppet Show episodes and focus a lot on the music and who's writing the music, who's recording the music, all that stuff. So if you want to know more about that deep dive stuff that we don't get into as much, listen to Muppetturgy. But they talked a lot about how Joe Raposo, specifically, his songs were loved by people like Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra. And I think this is sort of maybe not the first time that like Ray Charles would have heard about Being Green, obviously, because Sesame Street existed.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he would go on to, I think, perform this later on Sesame Street as well as on his own albums. And then, Sam, we come to 1 to 1.
Yes, we do.
It's kind of a Julie Andrews special, but not really.
Not
it feels
really.
like maybe she was paid off to be in this.
She's not barely in it, but she's not like the host of it, really. She is
what's his name? What's the man's name?
Mooneyham. Stan Mooneyham. And he is the very classical evangelical televangelist looking man who pops up throughout this thing.
Yeah, he is the pastor that you're imagining when you imagine 70s evangelical, the Righteous Gemstones.
Yes.
Kind of guy who is, oh boy. As I told Sam, this is a guy who I expected his Wikipedia page to contain some heinous things just based on his personality.
Sweating when I opened his Wikipedia page. I was like, how many sex scandals did this dude have?
Yeah, or who did he steal money from? Or yeah, I mean, I know we're obviously a little bit judgy here of like the 70s evangelical venture that's happening here, but it feels very, very strange to not only watch a special like this, but also to watch Julie Andrews and the Muppets being associated with this kind of thing, because it feels so far removed from other things the Muppets are doing.
Yeah. I think like it's definitely a product of its time, probably, when people weren't thinking through all of the like socio-political aspects of having a children's choir made entirely of Korean orphans and like what it meant to call things like developing nations and stuff like that, like how pandering and horrible like it really is. I don't think people thought about back then, probably.
No, there's one point where Stan Mooneyham is talking about how important adoption is and how it's part of God's mission for people to save these children. And he's like talking and saying like, I walked through the villages and looked at their little brown faces. And I was like, oh no, what? Oh God, sir, stop talking right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think the overall vibe of this special is very like white savior,
Definitely.
white Americans, please save these children from these terrible countries where they're living terrible lives.
Yep.
Only you can do this. God wants you to do this.
Yeah.
And while doing that, inherently, you're going to have this othering of other races and people, of like talking about them, and like a fetishization of adopting kids from these special, like certain countries. And it just feels very strange and right on that line of like outright racist at points.
Did you watch the musical number where she sings all of their last names?
Yep, and then mixes up two of them because
Yeah,
they look alike.
Because they look alike.
In her words.
Oh, it's a nasty little thing.
Yeah. And it's like, it's again, unfortunately, not surprising for the time that like this special exists and has the racism that it has throughout it. It's just very disappointing to watch it. One, I think it's like a bummer to watch as a thing that like I wish I could just erase from existence. But it's also like watching the Muppets in it and then like seeing that like their stuff isn't directly tied to a lot of the messages of this special, but in hindsight, it is that like towards the end when Stan Mooneyham is explaining sort of the thesis of this whole special, he is directly referencing the Muppet sketch from earlier, and like says like in the same breath he goes from saying like your Christian mission in life is to save these children. The Muppets told you in the story of the King of Fump, and I'm like, oh, I don't like this sermon that includes the word Muppets.
Yeah. But, okay, we did say Stan Mooneyham, and we expected him to be, like, a really horrible guy. He actually got kicked out of this organization pretty shortly after this for helping Palestinian refugees, which the other evangelicals in the group did not like, and they had him removed from the organization, which,
so,
you know.
Plot twist, good guy.
Yeah, he seems like genuinely, from what his Wikipedia article, which was clearly written by his children, because it talks about like how much of a visionary this guy that nobody's ever heard of is. He seemed to genuinely believe what he was talking about, and that helping children and people in countries that there were problems was an important thing, and not necessarily like, you know, like the return of Christ and stuff like that, and like, you know. Anyway, I won't get in too deep into that, but I will cut Stan Mooneyham a little bit of slack. And I'll cut, you know, Julie Andrews, I assume probably got involved in this because she had adopted children recently.
Yeah. And I think there's also, like looking at the credits behind this, something that will not shock you at all is that the writer of this was one of the writers from Our Place.
Oh my God. That doesn't shock me even one little bit, because this children's choir and the Our Place choir are the same.
Yep. But interestingly, this was directed by a director from the Jimmy Dean Show.
Oh, that's interesting. It actually is beautiful. There's some like, really nice animation, and the sets are amazing. Like faux children drawings. It's a very small world. It's like it could be a boat ride at Disneyland. And I love the set design in it, which is why I watched the whole thing, because it was just like really fascinating. Really good production design. And there's some really cool, like these kids are actually extremely talented. And there's this really cool part where they're playing drums, like, and like doing contortion while they're playing drums. And I was like, those children's spines just rotated completely on their bodies. But I don't know what they did, but it was cool.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I was like, okay, this feels like you're actually sort of like honoring traditions from their culture.
Yeah.
Instead of like forcing them to fall down while they're ice skating or not remembering their names.
Yeah. Yes, the not remembering the names part's worse than falling down ice skating. But
there's a moment there's a section in here where they're ice skating and the one kid just falls down and like eats it. And I'm like, why didn't you edit that out of the special?
Yeah.
Like it feels mean to have left in that moment where the kid falls down.
Also, every guest star who shows up does say, my name's Julie Andrews. Can you say that? And that's a little bit weird, too. It's
they treat them like they're aliens, like from another planet.
Totally.
And yeah, it's just very odd. And I think at the beginning, we get this sort of like introductory thing where they're seeing this is a show about people, just like introducing
which is
this
exactly
whole thing.
The same as the Our Place intro. Like it sounds the same now that you say that. Like the songs are so similar.
Yeah, then we have that the Kermit number that you mentioned earlier where he's sort of the choir director. and tries to suss out which of the like children or Muppets is singing poorly or is singing better. I couldn't really tell what he was trying to.
I couldn't tell either because he says like there's a ringer, which I don't know what that means. And
I think that means good. Like a ringer is somebody that like you have like on your team to lift everybody up, or as like a secret like when you're trying to like hustle someone, you have a ringer is like, oh yeah, we all suck, but this person's amazing. Okay. And so I feel like he was trying to find the good singer, but it seemed like he kept getting rid of the good singers and keeping the bad singers.
I think if ringer means good, he was getting rid of, like he says the ringers need to leave and all the kids left. So I think, I thought the implication was that the kids were bad singers. I think that he was narrowing down to the bad singer was what it seemed to be. He was very rude in this skit though. He was being very judgmental, I thought.
Yeah, like the whole point of it was to just find the bad singers and like highlight how bad they are. And it's like, okay, I guess that's the point of this.
Yeah, when Muppet Show Kermit, he would let the bad singers be singing too. So this was still like rude Kermit that I don't like that much.
Well, it seems like it's only there because they have a choir to use. Yeah. As opposed to like the other segments feel like they're there to push the message of the special. This one was just kind of there because it's like, okay, we have a choir that can sing. Go.
Yeah, and it's very short and not very good. But then that Brewster thing that we've already talked about a lot, I actually really liked it. I don't understand why it was part of this special exactly.
I mean, they're talking about the chain of life, and that feels like sort of this, like, we're all connected, the whole world is responsible for each other, which, again, not a bad message.
Yeah.
Like, that it's like, think about your actions, we're all connected, one person's actions affects everyone else. And yeah, I feel like it doesn't feel like it would work on the Muppet Show necessarily.
No.
But I feel like it's a very wholesome, good number to have on something like this.
Yes, and not particularly connected to religion as far as I can tell.
Didn't seem like it.
And I thought the kids were all really cute in this one. And so then it just abruptly turns into like, and man threatens to disrupt this entire chain. He's exploiting the earth and stripping all of its precious minerals from it, and he must be stopped before it's too late. Which is so, like, first of all, I think that there's like I think there's a part of evangelical beliefs that man has dominion over earth and can use its resources as he sees fit. So that didn't like that. It just seems like God, that part seemed godless to me, and it seemed like, in like a cool way. And it was like, we must rise up and free ourselves from the shackles of capitalism or something. Just like briefly snuck in there, and that part's kind of dark too. And it's like,
there's a lot of weird left turns in this special where you're just like singing a song, and then it's like, don't forget, this dark thing is happening.
Yeah. Man is drilling for oil and threatening to destroy the entire world. And I think they even say he must be stopped at one point. I don't even know who the he they're referring to is, but it feels like you're brainwashed briefly there for a second. So I actually really enjoyed that part as maybe one of the strangest things I think we've watched so far.
Well, and you get the moment after that where Kermit's like, makes you stop and think. And then he just goes silent and like stops and thinks for a moment. He's like, okay. Like,
I stopped and thought.
Yeah, which is good. I think that works as a good little comedic moment after that weird left turn.
Oh, and then so then there's that skit, which is about adopting babies. It's pretty straightforward.
It's the Land of Fumph,
which
I think is like, it's spelled in a weird way because Jim Henson likes nonsense words.
Yeah. Cute, whatever, it's fine. But then Kermit sings a song about what he would do if he ruled the world, and it ends with them pulling the camera back, and it shows that Kermit is seated atop of the planet Earth, and he's like giant, and the moon like comes down behind him, and the stars, and that's pretty cool too.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely screenshotted that. I was like, this is one of my favorite like visuals from anything Muppets we've watched so far.
Yeah.
And it's weird that King of Fumph, Land of Fumph, whatever special like little segment feels pretty like harmless when we're watching it. Like it definitely, the message feels like if you adopt a baby, you are amazing and you will become king because you are so selfless.
Which is
so
fun.
Obviously that is clearly being tied to the message of you should adopt a baby.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is that the sun doesn't shine in the Land of Fumph because the king and queen and prince are so selfish, and then the orphan is dropped off on their doorstep, and they all refuse to help it. And this random one member of the kingdom decides, you know what, I'll take care of that, baby. And it is the same guy from the
pitch reel,
Muppet
right?
pitch reel,
Yeah,
and he is
that's
also the main star of all of the Muppet meeting films that we will be talking about at some point.
Okay.
But he chooses to adopt it, and then the crown magically flies over from the king's head onto his head.
Yeah.
And then that's what leads into Kermit singing a song about what he would do if he ruled the world.
Which is very illiterate. Like the song is basically like, I would be a good and just God if I ruled all of you.
Yeah, praise be to Kermit.
So, I actually had a lot of fun with that extremely strange and disturbing little special. But it kind of feels like the Muppets are back, baby, in a way. They're just trying so hard again, it feels like.
Yeah, and that's why this special is so weird as like one for us to end 1975 on, because the Muppet segments end there. That's the last Muppet segment. The last image we have of a Muppet is Kermit sitting on top of the globe. But then we lead in immediately to this Janet Lynn ice skating segment.
Yeah.
That at first you're like, oh, she's going to take these kids ice skating or something. And then it switches over to a voiceover that's just her talking about basically how Christianity has saved her.
Yeah.
And it was not there wasn't another bigger message she was trying to tie to it or talk about the adoption stuff. It was literally just her narrating of how religion has saved her, which again, you do you, Janet Lynn, but it was very bizarre left turn after the Land of Fump thing. And then we get some more singing in the garden from the children's choir and from Julie Andrews, which leads into the Stan Mooneyham standing under a trellis out in a garden, sort of wrapping up the special.
Basically
sort of
doing a sermon.
letting you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, doing a sermon while letting you know what the special that you just watched was really about. And that's where he goes through and gets into some more of his white savior language and talks about how the Land of Fump special was really about religion. And you're like, oh, okay. I knew it was about adoption. Didn't realize it was also about religion. Thanks, Stan. But my favorite part of that whole segment is that while he's sitting there talking out in this garden under a trellis, a plane starts to fly over. And you hear it approaching. You hear it flying over. It takes a really long time. And they apparently didn't have time to do a second take because it's just in there. It's just he's giving this very heartfelt, serious message. And there's just a little prop plane flying over his head.
A lot of credit to him. He doesn't stop or anything.
No.
I would have stopped, but you can splice film together. They could have edited, but no. He chose to keep going, which is fine. Another weird thing is that this just aired on primetime ABC back in the day.
Wow. I guess Julie Andrews had a lot of pull. That's probably why you get her involved in something like this, is because you can sell it as a Julie Andrews special and not just a evangelical church special.
Yeah, she's really milking her Sound of Music fame, though. That was 12 years ago at this point. And those are great songs, so,
She is still singing a lot of the same songs.
That's mostly what I mean, yeah. She's just kind of reprising all of that stuff. Yeah, so I would say, all in all, 1975, pretty good show. 1975 TV appearances. Pretty good showing by the Muppets. I was pleased.
Yeah, and we're going to obviously get into not necessarily their big break. They've had many breaks throughout the years, but we're going to be talking next week about their appearances on Saturday Night Live, which is obviously a huge national audience getting to see Muppets in maybe not the best way.
Didn't really turn out so hot, but...
No, but it is definitely bridging that gap between the Muppets are not for kids or not just for kids. Look at these adult Muppets we've given you on Saturday Night Live. But we'll talk more about that next time. For now, we need to talk about our Muppet of the Week. And this week, it is Animal. He is the hairy red-orange drummer for the Electric Mayhem. I was trying to decide what color he was, and his body's kind of orange, but he's got red and pink and orange feathers on his head. So, Animal. Everyone knows Animal. He often speaks in just a few syllables, whether it's woman, woman, or beat drum, etc. Rarely does he speak in full sentences. But Animal debuted in the show that we talked about last week, which was the Muppet Show Sex and Violence, where he lived in a dungeon. And in my headcanon, that's why he always has a chain hanging around his neck, is because he, I guess, broke out from that dungeon. And has
I imagine
ever since...
that, did he have a chain when he was playing drums in Sex and Violence? I think he probably did.
Probably. I think
so.
He's
That's
had
probably
the chain
why he has a chain.
I don't know if it ever comes up, and if anyone ever asks him, hey, what's with the chain?
Well, it's kind of his leash in the Muppet movie, at least. I think Floyd pulls him around by it a few times. But
yeah. But as far as performers go, of who's behind the animal, we had Frank Oz playing Animal for a very long time. From the very beginning in Sex and Violence, Frank Oz is performing Animal all the way up until Muppet Race Mania in 2000, which is a video game.
That's actually the thing I'm most excited to play, or like to do on this show, is to sit with you and play Muppet Race Mania.
Is it like a Mario Kart with Muppets?
Hell yeah, it is. And there's like dozens of unlockable characters, I think.
I'm in. I'm excited. Not only did I order some Muppet Show board games not that long ago and have those that we still need to play, but I also just, a friend texted me and was like, hey, my mom's moving and we have this sealed Muppets Monopoly. Do you want it? And apparently I'm that friend now who just gives your Muppet stuff. And if anyone out there is wondering, do they want it? Yes, I do want
Obviously, you want it.
Send me your Muppet stuff. So we should do a board game episode at some point where we play a bunch of Muppet board games. But after Muppet Race Mania, Eric Jacobson, surprise, surprise, took over the role of Animal. He's taken over, again, almost all of Frank Oz's roles. But he started off performing Animal in It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas Movie in 2002, and he is still performing Animal to this day. I wanted to note, which is something that we haven't really brought up too much, is Muppet Babies, both the 80s, 90s series and the current series. On the old Muppet Babies, Animal was performed by both Dave Coulier and then later Howie Mandel, or earlier. I don't remember which came first, but it was Dave Coulier and Howie Mandel did the voice of Animal. Oh
boy. That makes sense, though. They both. I mean, Baby Animal in that sounds exactly like the woodchuck or whatever from Full House, right?
Yeah. I think it's interesting that, like, the voice cast, which I'm sure we'll talk about in great depth once we get to the Muppet Babies episodes, Frank Welker is the voice of Baby Kermit on that show. And Frank Welker is, he's like everybody, but he's Fred on Scooby-Doo, but he's also Megatron on Transformers.
He's literally everybody.
Oh, yeah. If you look up his IMDb credits, I'm guessing it's probably around 1,000 credits.
And I think he's still Fred on Scooby-Doo. I don't think anyone else has ever played Fred except for in real, like, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah. It's Frank Welker and Freddie Prinze Jr. The only two. But now, on the new Muppet Babies, still voice acting royalty, Animal is being performed by D. Bradley Baker, who is done, again, as many credits as Frank Welker has, probably. But he was Olmec on Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, my goodness.
And now, I think what I hear his voice most often on is that he has been the voice of every single clone that has ever appeared on Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and Star Wars The Bad Batch.
Amazing.
So he has played thousands of clones at this point and has like a method for giving them all individual personalities. So if you ask him to like perform this clone or this clone, he has a slightly different New Zealand accent for each one. But yes, D. Bradley Baker is another one of those guys you look up and he's like literally a voice in everything. While doing some research on Animal, there was a See Also section on the Muppet Wiki, and there was a link to an article that was called Official Speculation on Animal's Name. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, I didn't realize there was any rumors about what his name could be besides Animal. And so I went to click that, and for some reason, I don't know if it's a joke or an accident, but that link takes you to the Muppet Wiki page for Naked Muppets. Which is not as pornographic as it sounds. It just mentions like the times that the Muppets have been naked or mentioned being naked or wanting to be naked. But there's nothing about Animal's name on there.
There is a poster of Animal with his pants off. Yes. That says,
he's there.
Want to see why they call him Animal.
Which is very strange.
It's his big dick, of course. Which would imply that he has a different name. What?
I guess so, yeah.
With a snake on her covering up her vagina?
What is
going on with the Muppets? Why are so many people horny about the Muppets?
And it apparently is not just a 70s, 80s vibe thing, because apparently on that page I learned that on Muppets Now, Janice talks about wishing she could just be nude all the time.
Wow.
So, still a thing. Still, Muppets wanting to be naked.
Okay. Muppets want to be naked, and we should let them be.
One of the not so fun but interesting facts I learned about Animal it has to do with his family life, because mostly his family life is non-existent. Like there's just not much known about his family. In multiple sketches and things, he has referenced his mom. Specifically, you brought up Bohemian Rhapsody earlier. In the Bohemian Rhapsody that the Muppets did later on, he starts singing the mama part and then just sings mama over and over and again and seems to have a little bit of a breakdown when he's singing
I
mama.
remember that.
And maybe that ties back to the fact that there was a book called The Case of the Missing Mother,
Oh, no.
where they're trying to put together a Mother's Day episode of The Muppet Show. And it shows like Fozzie and Miss Piggy and all of them like talking about their moms and how they're excited for their moms to visit and be a part of this thing. And Animal runs away and gets super depressed. They actually use the word depressed in the book. And people are trying to figure out like why he's so sad and he's crying. And it turns out he had a piece of paper in his hand that was from his mom that said, like, don't forget, you can find me at this address. And the address was rubbed out, and he couldn't remember where his mother
no.
lived.
Poor Animal.
So they have to drive around town to try and find her.
Well, at least she just lives in the same town, I suppose.
Yes, it's very convenient that she didn't move across the country. But they end up finding her, thankfully, because they can hear her drumming, because she is also a drummer.
That's great.
And her name is Laverne.
Okay.
And they end up doing like a duet drum performance on The Muppet Show.
And this is a book.
Yes, this is all
Okay.
just in a book.
Okay.
There is like an album of it and like a read-along thing. So there is a version of this that you can watch on YouTube. I believe that is like you can hear the voices being performed and stuff. Do you like Animal as much as everyone else seems to?
Yeah, I think I like him less because everybody else likes him so much.
Oh.
Which is bad, which is elitist of me. But he has like Tweety Bird disease or like Grumpy from the Seven Dwarfs, you know? Like if you're a certain kind of rude person who works in an office or something, you're going to have a mug that's like, fuck you, and have Grumpy on it. Or
Yeah.
you're going to have like a mug that says like, I'm a real animal until I have my coffee. So fuck you. And it's going to have Animal on it. I think Animal is hilarious. I think one of the funniest parts of the Muppet movie is when he says eat drum, and he tries to eat the drum and they have to tell him that it's beat drum, and he goes, and then his eyes open up really wide. I think I really do like Animal. He's just overplayed a little bit.
We also get the amazing giant animal puppet at the end of the Muppet movie.
I love the giant animal. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I can't find good pictures or photo or video anywhere of that actual puppet because it's supposed to be like 60 feet tall.
Oh, it's not just really?
No, they Jim Henson was like adamant that they wanted to make an actual like giant puppet, and so there existed an actual giant animal head.
What the hell? And it doesn't.
And I can't find it.
What? How did that not end up like at Disney World or something?
I don't
That's
know.
nuts. Yeah, I like him. I don't think there's much not to like about him. I really like the Electric Mayhem in general, so I think that colors it a bit too. But he's a fun little guy. And I would bet that a lot of people, you mentioned Muppet Babies, which I totally forgot that he was in. But I feel like maybe a lot of his popularity came from Muppet Babies.
Yeah, he is one of the
pretty
strongest
prominent in that.
personalities on that.
Yeah. Do you like Animal?
I do. I think, again, he's not one of my like top tier favorite Muppets, but I always like when he's around. And in the 2011 Muppets movie, he goes into anger management classes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he's hanging out with Jack Black at like an anger management.
Oh, I don't think of either
place.
of those people as particularly angry.
Yeah, that's fair. But they're at an anger management place, and as part of that, Animal is not supposed to be playing drums because it like makes him too wild.
Aw.
And so for most of that movie, he's refusing to play the drums when they want him to.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's not right. He's not angry. He is, like you said, extremely horny, more than angry.
Yeah, but he's like an unhinged level where like he has a leash for a reason. You got to hold him back.
He's too horny.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. He's just Cookie Monster, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
I never thought of
He's
that.
a horny cookie monster.
Who eats more than just cookies.
Yeah, mostly drums,
Yeah.
but other things as well.
I also am seeing that he was the official mascot of the 1998 U.S. snowboarding team, which is really cool, too.
Of course. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So I will give Animal 3 stars. I don't feel strongly enough about him to go any higher than that.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 50.
That's
Out
exactly.
of
That's
my
almost
60
3
star
stars.
scale.
I might as well give him 2.5, which I now will. He's exactly middle Muppet.
Perfect.
Do you know anything about where he came from? Like, why did they build the Electric Mayhem? Do you know anything about that? They just came
haven't
like
really-
fully formed out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm still working my way through the Of Muppets and Men book, which is like the classic 70s book that came out while The Muppet Show was still on the air. That's like the most thorough behind the scenes book that existed at the time. And I know that includes some stories and sketches about the Electric Man that I have not gotten to yet. But I believe it's just like these were ideas that like Jim had and Michael Frith and other people worked on turning into actual puppets. And yeah, I think they just were sort of, Jim wanted a band and made a band of interesting, dynamic little characters.
Yeah, it's really, like I said earlier, it's like he just thought it would be fun if we had a puppet band, and then they just made the perfect puppet band somehow in one try.
So aside from all these scattered TV appearances that we watched this week, I'm assuming you watched some other stuff. Sam, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
I actually didn't watch too much stuff. I think the only movie I watched, I really, really wanted to watch Space Jam 2. I tried, but it's too long. It's 2 hours long, and I can't.
It's pretty long.
So the only thing that I can think of that I watched, we're working our way through Succession. We're only 2 episodes in. I haven't decided if I liked it or not. If I like it or not yet, I'll get back to you on that one. I watched Gunpowder Milkshake, which is it's bad. I did not like it.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's so similar to John Wick. Like, I almost think that it's Karen Gillan, is that her name? Gillan, and she's a assassin, who's like a child soldier assassin kind of, and grew up as an assassin. And then the people she works for turn on her, much like John Wick 2, I believe. The people he works for turn on him. And then she goes to this seemingly ordinary place that's actually like a secret hideout for assassins that's full of weapons and stuff, and she can hide out there. But instead of a hotel, it's a library. But I almost feel like it's the same exact building. I don't know if I'm right. I need to go back and check. But it seems like there's like an establishing shot of this library that looks exactly like the freaking hotel in John Wick. So the whole time it's just like, this is just a John Wick movie that's less good.
There's been a lot of like John Wickification that's been happening in media
Wicks.
lately.
Yes, for sure.
Where especially the part of like everyone turning on somebody and then like suddenly there's a bounty on somebody's head and then everyone in the entire world wants to kill that person.
Yes.
I feel like that keeps happening in many TV shows and movies now.
Mm-hmm. And it's a great story, but John Wick does it best. And he does that. John Wick movies are just so much better than this movie specifically. I haven't watched the one that has
Bob Odenkirk?
Yeah, that has Bob Odenkirk in it yet. I want to, and I've heard that one's good. This one is just like not good. It's like a baby movie. It's a movie for babies almost. Like the dialogue is so bad. And,
interesting.
Yeah. So that one stunk. And that's the only thing I can remember that I watched all week. So didn't enjoy it. And that's it.
I also watched a Karen Gillan movie. I watched Guardians of the Galaxy again because that's where we're at in our Marvel rewatch. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I
didn't like it as much the second time I watched it, by a long shot.
I think James Gunn is not a great action director. There's a scene in that movie specifically that I like had to turn my head away because the action is so poorly laid out. Part? They're like escaping from nowhere, and like they're all in their little pods flying around, and everyone's chasing each other. And I'm like, this is just this is bad. This is So watch that. Did a rewatch of Ted Lasso, which is amazing because the second season's starting next week or this week, one of the two. Also watching Central Park on Apple TV, which is from the people who made Bob's Burgers.
Oh, right.
It's another show in that style, but it's very good. It's all musical, and like almost the entire cast of Hamilton is in it. And then I watched 40 minutes of Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Oh, no, you didn't finish it?
I have not yet. I will. I just have no desire to.
It's long as hell.
Yeah, I watched it in 2 20-minute chunks so far. And I have not yet gone back for another 20-minute chunk yet.
How was it so far?
I don't care for it. I know people are arguing a lot about it online of like, well, the old one sucked too. It's just nostalgia. And I'm like, yeah, fair, maybe. But like, LeBron James is not good. The writing is very bad. And LeBron James like starts off the movie as like a dick. Like he's treating his kid like shit. And I'm just like, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch a bad dad hang out with the Looney Tunes.
The concept of the first one also is so, well, first of all, Bill Murray's in it. And Bill Murray is good.
Immediately better.
And so is Wayne Knight. They're both good in that movie and funny.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that the concept of that movie hinges around how everybody's so mad that Michael Jordan stopped playing basketball, played baseball.
And that's part of it for me is that, like, obviously the old story is a very ludicrous idea. The way it gets into it is
Yeah.
silly, but like it kind of feels like that one knows it's silly.
Yes.
Whereas this one is taking itself really seriously.
Yeah.
It jumps into like the Toon Town type stuff very quickly, and also like feels like the most like arbitrary made up story that they were just like, this is perfect, do it, go, and like didn't think beyond the idea. And so, yeah, for me, the writing is bad. The performances are not great. It seems like Don Cheadle just got paid a lot of money to stand in a green room and shout for a long time.
Why not?
But yeah, some of the Looney Tunes stuff is cute and charming, but other times it's just like, oh, what if the Looney Tunes were in Mad Max? Huh?
I watched that clip, that Mad Max clip. It made me like viscerally angry.
Yeah, and that's kind of how like
done that.
I literally turned off the movie the moment Rick and Morty showed up.
I saw that part too.
They showed up and I was just like, I don't like have a strong hate for Rick and Morty. I never watched it and it doesn't seem like my jam. But the moment they showed up in the movie, I was like, yeah, I'm going to pause for now. This is not a lot of fun.
Oh man, I'm going to probably watch it today. So I'll let you know what I think.
Say, report back. Let me know what you thought. Cause yeah, it's not my favorite.
Austin Powers is in it. I'm excited about
Austin
that.
Powers is not really in it.
Well, his head's in it for a second.
His head's in it for a second, and then Dr. Evil gets to be there. And...
An old clip of Dr. Evil. Nice.
Yeah, Elmer Fudd is Mini-Me. That's the joke. And Sylvester is hairless, and he's the cat.
Sounds hilarious, Matt. I don't know what's wrong with you.
But next week, we will be back. Obviously, we do this every week.
Yeah.
We're going to be back. We're going to be watching the Land of Gorch segments from the first season of Saturday Night Live.
It's going to be a banger. I can feel it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be hard to watch a lot of those back to back, so I would space them out if I was you, Sam.
How many are there?
I think there's like 16 or 18.
Oh my God, that's so many.
Okay. And you can find Saturday Night Live on Peacock if you're interested in checking them out as well. You can go on Muppet Wiki and sort of see which episodes they are in. I think they're almost in every episode of the first season, but not all of them.
Okay.
But yeah, they're very weird and different from anything we've watched so far, and we'll get into why that is next week when we talk about the backstory of them and if we like them at all. I remember trying to like them a lot back when the first season of SNL came out on DVD when I was like in high school or something like that.
Yeah.
And watching them, but I don't know that I actually liked them as much as I told people I liked them.
You were trying to be cool by liking Land of Gorch.
I was essentially trying to do what I'm doing now, which was like go back and watch a bunch of old Muppet stuff and be like, I know the old actual cool Muppets. But I didn't actually do that. I just watched the SNL things and was like, did you know before the Muppet Show they were on Saturday Night Live?
Yeah.
My dad's like, yes, I'm old.
Trying to impress your parents. Very cool.
Yeah. But before we go, we want to thank our friend Tuna for creating the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at CommitmentPod, where you can find the links to the things that we can watch. We will tweet those things out if they're available. We are getting into the era of legally acquirable things now, so there's not as many YouTube videos we can share. But if you have any Muppet memories or stories you'd like to share with us, you can always tweet them at us or email us at mail@commitment.com. And you can follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm at Slam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.